listening to Unpause Your Life with Dr. Cali, Estes, and Master Coach Jenny Fontana, founders of the Life Coach Method. Each one of our uplifting and deep dive episodes is geared to help you tackle the things that hold you back from having the most magnificent life you deserve. Sit back, relax, and prepare to be coached.
Hey guys, Dr. Cali Estes. Welcome to another fun, adventurous podcast with Unpause Your Life. My guest today is Cam F. Awesome, and that is his real name. So let's get right to it. I'd like you to meet Cam. Tell us about who you are and why you are here.
So I'm Cam F. Awesome, and for $200, you can be whoever you want in life. I changed my name back in 2013.
What made you do that? So let's talk about that first. What made you say, this is the name I want to be?
Because first of all, it's the best word in the world. It's the best word I can think of.
Okay.
It sums up, and everyone has their own definition of awesome, but for me, that's what it's supposed to represent. And it all started, so I'm big on stories, and I think we all tell ourselves stories. And in elementary school, I was getting bullied a lot. A bully had slammed my head into a wall, and I was sent to the hospital with a concussion. And anytime he saw me, he beat me up. And it got to the point where the school would release me 10 minutes early so I could get home before he got to me. Now,
Oh my God, that's awful. They didn't like remove him or suspend him, nothing?
no, well, now in hindsight, if I don't have any children, but if I did and someone did that to my kid, I'm beating up their dad. I'm showing up to their house every day and beating up their dad. Yeah, you're not going to abuse my child. But anyway, obviously, like, I got to leave school 10 minutes early. So I packed up my book bag. Everyone in the class saw me and everyone knew why I was leaving the school. It was because I was afraid, I was a coward, I couldn't defend myself. And on that walk home, these are the stories I started to tell myself. And it allowed me to be very good at avoiding confrontation. Like, some kids take the long way home from school. I left school early. So I got really good at avoiding confrontation in middle school. Also, I didn't know there was a word for anxiety.
Ah,
I
yep.
just thought I was afraid all the time. So I volunteered in the nurse's office during my lunch hour in middle school because I was afraid to be in the lunchroom around all those people because something might happen, a fight might break out. And that fight never did happen until my first week of ninth grade. First week of high school, got into my first fight. Unfortunately, lost that fight, but in my defense, he was very strong. Lost the fight to a girl in ninth grade, and then I realized I didn't like my life. I didn't like it was my first week of high school. I was already insecure. And I realized I was telling myself a story, and I had a thought. If I joined the boxing gym, not to be a boxer, but if I did the workout, I'd look like a boxer. If I can change my character's exterior, it might change the way I interact with the world. So basically, I thought if I got big and buff, people would leave me alone.
Good theory.
Yeah. Also, I could probably get a date to prom. It didn't work, but yeah. But I had such I was working with such fear. I joined the gym at 16, and I thought the harder and faster I worked out, the faster I would be safe.
Right.
So I just outworked everyone in the gym, and in like 6 months, I was in better shape than everyone else. And I started sparring, and in sparring, I was so afraid to get hit. I just ran from my opponent the entire sparring session. And I realized if you don't hit me, you can't win.
True.
So my thing of avoiding confrontation became my superpower. I just avoided all of the punches in the ring, and I would run from my opponent until they got tired, and I would win. And so I this was in New York. I was living in New York. At school, I was just like unconfident, loser, wasn't cool. I wasn't outgoing. But in the boxing gym, because I could beat everyone up there and I was good at sparring, I was confident and I felt like I was a part of a team. And uh, I also I was Cameron at school, but when I went to the boxing gym, I made up this guy named Cam. Cam's tough. Cam's outgoing. So I was cool in the gym, but I got to school and I was unconfident. And then my senior year of high school, my parents moved to Florida, from New York to Florida. And this would be devastating for a lot of people, but for me, it was like I have a whole fresh start. Like, no one knows me in Florida. I can be whoever I want. I could develop a Jamaican accent and no one know the difference. Now, I did not have a Jamaican accent, but I did decide, like consciously, I wanted to create the person I wanted to be. Like I wanted to be, actually, you tell me, if you could snap your fingers and go down, like you can go down a grocery aisle or buffet line and choose characteristics you want in your life, whether it's bravery, resilience, humor, charm, what would you choose for your character?
Funny you asked that because I did that. My legal name isn't Callie, it's Christy. And I changed it to Callie, and Callie had a whole persona because I was bullied like you. And I was
Oh,
going to
that's
be
so
resilient and tough and a badass. And that's my presentation. And that's what I did. So
oh, that's so
resilient
dope.
would be my word. Yeah.
Yeah. So mine was like I wanted to be fun. I want to be
Mhm.
outgoing and fun. And I got down to Florida and I was that guy. And everyone believed it in my high school because I just pretended to be this person. They didn't know any better. I didn't believe it though. The best, here's what's crazy. My boxing gym was 6 miles away from my high school. And I had a 3 hour walk every day. Like,
In the
dude,
heat in Florida.
in the, yes, 3 o'clock, I would leave school in the hottest part of the day and walk 3 hours to the gym. Do you remember iPods?
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't have one, which meant I just had to be stuck with my thoughts like a psychopath. And for some reason, and it's not that I was this clairvoyant and I figured anything out, it was just I made up stories because I was bored. And in all of these stories, I was kicking ass. Like I was beating everyone up. I had all the championship belts, I had all the money, all the cars, all the jewelry. None of it was true. But I saw a correlation between how highly I spoke about myself and how well I did at the gym that day. And the better I did at the gym today, I was more excited I was for a 3 hour walk. And if you think about it, 15 hours a week, I'm just patting myself on the back, telling myself how amazing I am, how great I am, how worthy I am, how capable I am. And I would do great at the gym and I would do it all again. 15 hours a week for months. And it changed my attitude, it changed my internal dialogue. And within 2 years, after never making a sport in school, never played a team, never played a team sport or anything, within 2 years of boxing, I became the number one heavyweight boxer in the country.
That's amazing. That's literally manifestation, law of attraction 101, and creating your entire reality. You did it.
After reading all these books, I thought I invented a lot of things, by the way. I, so then I read books and I'm like, oh, it's all in here. Yeah, there's so I had this thought process of the more better I spoke about myself, the better I would do.
Mhm.
So I threw it out the window. I became Cam in Florida. Cameron died. I don't know where he went. Uh, my last week of high school, I got to go to New York to walk with my graduating class. I had no interest in hanging out with them or seeing them. I needed them to see me. I had abs. I was confident. I had a Mustang. It was green. The driver door was yellow, but if you're standing on the passenger side, it looked like a really good car. I couldn't wait to show it all off. And I got to high school, and the second I walked through those doors, I reverted into the unconfident person I used to be. It was like the battery fell out my back. I didn't know what was going on, and I couldn't wait to leave. And I left New York and I never went back because I figured my cam doesn't cam in New York for some reason. I got back to Florida, I got back to boxing. 2008, I won nationals, became the number one boxer in the country. And I was basically traveling the world as captain of Team USA. And it was a really cool experience, and I enjoyed it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. I had a lot of fun. That was my thing. I didn't care about turning pro. I don't even like boxing. I just joined the gym because it was the only free gym in my neighborhood, and it was a way better route than going to college. So I just decided like to box, and I won nationals in 2008, 9, 10, 2011, and in 2012 I won the Olympic trials to represent the U.S. in the London Olympics, and I became the first boxer in U.S. history to be kicked off the Olympic team for not filling out paperwork.
Oh my God. What didn't you fill out?
I forgot to send an email saying I was leaving the country, and they showed up to my house to give me a random drug test.
Oh my God.
Yeah, missed
Wow.
drug test is a positive drug test. And the thing is, I didn't even do any drugs. I tested negative. I went to fight in a tournament in Azerbaijan, and you get tested to fight in that tournament. So I got tested that same week they tried to reach out to me, uh, and it wasn't even a real offense. This was around the time Lance Armstrong won on Oprah,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
and they just cracked down on a bunch of athletes for silly infractions. And I got really bummed out because I put everything into like these 4 years into boxing. I didn't see family. I missed my little sister's graduation. I still hear about that. Like I was completely dedicated, and then I had nothing. When I was boxing, if you ask me my name before I tell you my name, I'll tell you that I was the number one boxer in the country. Was my identity. That's who I was. Because I realized I didn't have friends, but after I started winning, it's like, love me, accept me. I'm the number one boxer in the country. And then after I got kicked off the team and I didn't have that anymore, I had no way to introduce myself. I kind of lost who I was. Yeah, that was a bad year. And then I had to personal train. I was doing boxing fitness to make some money and keep myself afloat because I didn't have income and no certifications, no degrees, no skills. All I can do is fight. And I started personal training and I was drinking a lot for the first. I was drinking a lot before. I was drinking before, but I never really drank a lot. I started binge drinking heavy in 2012, and uh, yeah, it was a rough year because it was embarrassing. 'Cause everyone knows you're going to the Olympics, like it's in the newspaper. This is back in Kansas City, had any good teams, and Taylor Swift cared who we were. It was like I was in the newspaper a lot, and people would see me like, "Hey man, you ready for the Olympics?" I'm like, "You know it," and then I got kicked off, and I was afraid to run into people because they'd ask me the question, and I'd have to tell them I got suspended for a drug test, and then they look at me like, "Was it steroids or weed?" It was neither. Uh, I realize I have, and what I love. I saw the Addiction Academy. I'm like, I love addicts because I myself am one, and I'm sober a couple years, and I can't think of anyone, and let me know if you can, anyone in the history of ever who's ever accomplished anything great through moderation.
No. Everyone I've ever met, it's either all in or all out, especially with entrepreneurship and, boxing. You're either all in or all out. You don't show up once a week to learn how to train. You're there every day, several hours a day, completely committed, missing your baby sister's graduation, still hearing about it. That's it. The same thing with entrepreneurship. I show up
Yeah.
every day, even when I don't want to.
Yeah. What I've learned with, because I have an addict's brain and I've learned to accept that. And I just have to know because I think it's a superpower. The ability to be obsessed with something and anything I pick up, I obsess with. So, like, I just had my wisdom teeth taken out. I don't normally have a lisp, but I got tramadol. And I was like, well, we can't take that, can we? It's like, I know so here's the thing. If something's really good and you enjoy it, why do less of it?
As long as it's beneficial to you and
Oh, that
not
doesn't matter.
the other way
That
around.
doesn't that Yeah, that's the part I have to start to check myself with.
Yeah.
Is but if you can learn to take your addict brain and you know put yourself in a position and avoid things that will be of detriment to you. And I've learned to do that. I get obsessed over things. So uh, I lost the bet in 2012 and had to be vegan for 28 days. It sucked. But the diet also entails sobriety. So for the first time during my suspension, I couldn't drink. I had to be
Mhm.
sober. And that rarely happened. And after a couple weeks, I started to see some clarity and things got a little bit better. And I was like, okay, first of all, I'm not going to go to college. So we're going to ride this boxing thing out a little bit longer. Also realized the concept of athlete privilege. Remember in high school, that star athlete did something stupid, should have been suspended, but they had a game that day, so they didn't.
Oh, yes. Yep.
That doesn't stop at high school. That's all of life.
Oh, wow.
Athletes get treated special. I mean, I don't pay for gym memberships. I date outside my looks. Like you get special treatment when you're an athlete. And then I lost that athlete privilege in 2012. I had to pay for gym memberships. I had to pay for my own supplements. It's like, I was in a rare position where I got to be an athlete again. But this time when I returned to boxing, I was like, okay, screw boxing. I saw boxing as a woman, like my wife, who I gave all this love and affection to, and I dedicated my life to her for 4 years. And then she took another dude to the Olympics in my weight class. So I
That's a
figured
good way to look at it. Okay.
yeah, but I'll get back with her in
Mhm.
2013. But I'm going to use and abuse her. I'm going to take everything she has to offer and I'm going to milk her. I stopped identifying as an athlete and started identifying as an entertainer
Okay.
because you can always be an entertainer and athletes are supposed to be entertaining. Another thing I was doing is I read all of the comments. I really wish there were more, as crazy as it seems, but I read all of the comments. And one of the big comments, because I was that confident guy, I would wear capes, I'd flip in the ring, I did dances, I had ring entrances. No one else did. So when I lost, one of the number one comments was, I bet he's humble now.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And it didn't sit right with me because it's supposed to be a good thing, right? So I looked up the definition of humble. Have you ever done this?
No, go ahead. Tell
Do
me
you
what
have
it
your phone on you?
I do?
Okay, grab your phone. Do you have any children?
No.
Okay, well, think of a child that you like, maybe a
Uh,
niece or something.
okay.
Look up the definition of humility and think of that. Think of a child that you want the best for. And you found it?
Uh-huh.
All right, read it for me.
The state or quality of being humble, freedom from pride and arrogance.
Ooh, give me
Low,
another definition.
that's humility. The act of
Yeah.
submission or courtesy, a humble feeling, a disposition to be humble, a lack of false pride. Humility.
Ooh, it's humility. Okay, the Latin root word is lowly for
Hmm.
humility, right? So look at it like this. You're killing it in the podcast role, right? You run into a podcaster that's not.
Mm-hmm.
In this situation, what do? We don't talk about how much we're killing it. No, we humble ourselves, not to where they are, but a little bit lower so they can feel good about themselves. Who does being humble serve?
The other person.
I don't think so, because now they have false confidence.
Ah, okay.
So when I realized there's no actual benefit of humility, and I realized the cornerstone, the root of all imposter syndrome is humility. And I know a lot of religious people aren't going to like this, and I respect everyone's beliefs. Believe what you want, but I don't believe humility is that good. The cornerstone of imposter syndrome is someone working really, really, really hard to get here, getting there, and thinking they don't deserve to be there.
That's true.
Because since you were a child, Callie, it's like, don't celebrate too much. You don't want other people to feel bad. Don't talk about how good you are. And even as a woman, you're taught to be smaller, to not be a burden, to not be an inconvenience on anyone.
So I'm gonna say something to you. I just did a post last week about I had 6 companies. I started all 6 with less than $300 in my bank account. I've been homeless twice. And one time I was homeless, I was on a sleeping bag in Huntington Beach in California. And when I had my fitness company and made my first $1 million, I rented a hotel room for a month overlooking where I was homeless. And I was talking about how it
Baller.
was a come up, and somebody went on my thing and wrote, "Stay humble." And I was like, why? That's a glow up. I went from eating I was dumpster diving in a trash
You were
can.
humbled.
Yeah, like I already was humbled. I'm like, I don't want to go back there. I've already attained that. And then I lost that fitness company. I ended up homeless again, squatting in Philadelphia with no heat, no running water, with nothing, and built another 8-figure company. And I'm like, I did it again. And it was still that, like, well, you're not humble enough. And I'm like, no, you're not leveled up enough. You're not willing to bring yourself to my level. Don't bring me
Yeah,
to your level.
that's what you're supposed to do. You raise people up to where you are. Never go down to anyone else's level. So I realized that in 2012. I realized I'll never become the best version of myself by being humble. When I became great, I was because I was walking to the gym. I'm the shit. I'm gonna knock everyone out. I got all the belts. I'm the best. But when I was suspended, it was time for me to get back in shape, to get back to boxing after my suspension, and I couldn't lose the weight. And one day I was just beating myself up like, you idiot, you fat loser. How did we get here? And I was like, oh, wait, we don't talk to us like this. If someone's if you're and for your listeners, if your child spoke to you the way you speak to yourself, you won't be too happy.
Correct.
But what if your child spoke to themselves the way you speak to yourself?
You wouldn't like that either.
No. I mean, no one thinks about you more than you think about yourself. What do you think about you? And what's the story you tell yourself? Because we all tell ourselves a story. That story could be, I'm a victim. I never get the girl, or I never get the guy, or I never get the win, or I never get that opportunity, or I'm bad at technology. That's what I hear all the time. So someone who said they're bad at technology run into an issue with their phone, and as soon as they run into an issue, they throw their hands in the air because they identified as someone who's bad at technology.
Yeah.
If you identified as someone who could figure it out, you Google it, you ChatGPT, you YouTube it, you figure it out. And if you had that attitude since the iPhone 6, imagine where you'd be now.
You just described my mother. Every time she gets a new phone, I get the phone call. I can't figure this out. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, please just take the time to learn the phone. It's not that hard. Every time they give you a new one, it is not that different. Yeah,
The
we've been doing it.
four-year-olds are doing it. I'm sure
I,
you can figure it out, Grandma.
yeah, yeah. Every year we do this.
But it's these are the stories we tell ourselves. We all tell ourselves stories. So I decided I was going to tell myself a story about how dope I am. So I'm going to change my last name to Awesome. I'm going to return to boxing. I'm going to reclaim my spot as captain of the USA national boxing team. Netflix documented my story. It's a documentary called Counterpunch. It's still available. And they document my story of returning to boxing, winning nationals in 13, 14, 15, in 2016, winning the US Olympic trials to represent the US in the Rio Olympics. And it was full story. It came full circle where I got back to where I lost, where I got kicked off. And then I lost an international competition and didn't get to go to Rio.
Oh, that close.
I lost that fight on July 4th, 2016. And it was in Argentina. As soon as I got done, I was like, okay, I made a post and I was like, I joined boxing. I don't even like boxing, bro. Like, it was just free. And I never got to leave the country. I've been to over 30 countries representing Team USA. I was like, okay, but I don't like boxing. What do I want to do? It's 2016, Olympics are over. How do I want to spend my time? And I realized the reason why I got involved in boxing because of bullying. So I started to go back to middle schools and talk about bullying, talk about confidence, and convince kids to join the boxing gym to become more confident. And I decided to do a tour. It was going to be a 51-day tour in my Prius. I'd get a hotel here and there for showers and laundry, but I'd sleep in my Prius. And it helped me save money. And I made it 3 hours into my 51-day road trip and I totaled my car. When I say I was broke, like I got deposits from some of these schools to be able to get the gas to go. And then I totaled my car and I had enough money for for gas. I didn't have money for a rental, but I've already accepted deposits and I had to make it. So I rented a car for 1 day at a very high price. And I was like, yeah, I'm just not going to see this car for 51 days. We're going to figure this out. And I, I, I rented a car for a day and I just kept going. And I would get to a school and I'd sit in the parking lot. I'd email other schools and try to book more schools to try to cover the fee of the car, which I wasn't expecting. Also, I didn't have a credit card at the time because I have this idea where if you can't afford something, you don't deserve it. Because credit card debt is just a slippery slope. And all you need to do, anytime someone starts, all you need to do, just black out anything they say after that, because nothing in life is that easy. All you need to do is pay it off every month. Well, life happens. And so does interest, and it piles up quickly. So I didn't get my first credit card until I was 31. And so I had to rent with a debit card, which was even higher fee. So uh, somewhere along that trip, I started in Florida. I ended up in San Diego, and someone was like, "You total your car. You're probably going to get insurance money. You should buy a van and live down by the river." And I was like, "I don't know what that means." So I Googled it. Turned out Saturday Night Live sketch, Chris Farley, a motivational speaker who lives in a van down by the river and eats government cheese.
Hmm.
Sure. I bought a van and I lived in my Dodge Sprinter for 3 years. So I was like, oh, I'm going to just build a speaking business. I have an addict's brain. I'm going all in. And I spent 3 Christmases in my van and I spoke at about 200 schools a year. I started doing stand-up comedy and I would MC vegan festivals in the van as well, just to try to like build a career for myself outside of sports. And I realized I was only able to do it because I told myself I could. Like we all tell ourselves stuff. And I have taken the obnoxious route of I tell myself I could do any. Someone was mentioning golf. I was like, oh no, I've never played golf. I'd probably be really good at it though. And they're like, oh no, man, you don't understand. Golf's difficult. I was like, yeah, but I'm good at things. And it's just that attitude. And it was actually my business coach. And she's like, Cam, I wish I could have your confidence for just 24 hours. I said, you can, it's free. Like,
Yeah,
but what problem? The problem is we're afraid to speak highly of ourselves or to accept our shine or to 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 talk our shit because we're afraid other people who aren't as good as us are going to feel bad. Fuck them, right?
that's true. That is true. That is 100% true. I was just on a podcast down here in Jupiter talking about addiction.
Oh, I'm
And
from PSL.
yeah, I was just down here in Port St. Louis. Exactly. I was just down there. And I was on a podcast and I was talking about overdose. My late husband overdosed. I was talking about it. And the podcaster cut a small clip up. So you don't hear the beginning. You just hear me talk about the worst drug in America. And I talk about sugar. And everyone's like, oh, she's stupid. She's an idiot. She's a fake doctor. She knows what she's talking about. And I'm like, you missed the first 10 minutes of why I went this way and what the whole thing was. And everyone is making all these comments. And I'm like, I didn't answer them. And a friend of mine said, well, why aren't you defending yourself? And I said, I don't have to. I don't have to defend myself against people who think I'm not the shit. I'm like, that's their opinion. Their opinion of me doesn't matter. And my friend went, why? And I'm like, because I'm not going to allow them to live rent free in my head. I've got things I got to do. And she
Yeah,
said, I wish I could be like that. I'm like, you can. Just like you said, it's free.
yeah,
You don't need to look at the comments. You don't need to deal with the haters. Don't get involved in that. Stay the course because you have enough up here. You don't need that.
yeah. I'm big on never letting external circumstances dictate my internal dialogue.
Hmm?
Like, I'm the shit because I'm the shit. I'm not the shit because I win, because I might lose. I'm still the shit. It has nothing to do with the outcome. And I figured that out in 2012, 2013, where I lost everything. And I was like, oh, it wasn't what I had before. It was me all along.
Yeah,
And I took that approach and I kind of went all in with that. And I I wanted to I always wanted to be a performer, and that's why I started identifying as an entertainer. And I didn't know what type of performing I wanted to do. My first interview I ever done with boxing, it was you had to fill out this form for nationals in 2008. Height, weight, hometown, reach. The final question was, what do you want out of boxing? I said I wanted to be a positive role model and have my own TV show. And granted, I got a Netflix special, and I've been on a couple documentaries. Never got my TV show, but I wanted to be a performer. I just didn't know how. And I started doing stand up, and I do motivational humorous. So I was trying to be a stand up comic, and it doesn't pay. So I was like, oh, I'll just do motivational humor. I do storytelling jokes. They all have morals and messages attached. And I created a genre of motivational humor. And I've transitioned from schools to corporate now, and I do corporate keynotes on the power of a positive internal dialogue and mindset and resilience.
that's awesome. And that story of how you got there makes the story you have now when you do the mindset and the resilience even more powerful because you aren't just saying here's what can happen. It's you live that whole life and you can talk about, going to the Olympics and then going, I'm not going to the Olympics for something I didn't even do, for something stupid like a piece of paper, check a box I missed because I was busy doing another fight. Like, no fault of my own. I got kicked off the team, had to start over, and then I, kicked the alcohol problem. And then here I am in a van down by the river. You have those stories. And I think that's what makes you different as a motivational speaker than somebody who just gets up and goes, I'm going to do this.
Yeah. Well, actually, 2008, a year into boxing, I qualified for the 2008 Olympic trials, and I lost the first day. And this is where I realized everyone who lost in that tournament either quit boxing or turned pro. And I was like, oh, if everyone quits or turns pro and I don't, aren't I automatically the best? Like,
Yeah,
that was my thought process. So the whole idea of resilience is the overline speech is overlining quote in my speech is, if you can fail without being discouraged, success becomes inevitable.
true.
And you just outlive your competition or outwork your competition. So 2008 qualified for Olympic trials, I lost. 2012 won the Olympic trials, got suspended. 2016 won the Olympic trials, lost in international competition. And as I'm traveling around living in the van, the number one question students ask, are you trying for the 2020 Olympics? And I felt like an imposter because I'm telling them to chase their dreams. I'm telling them to go after what they want. And I'm healthy. Why am I not fighting the 2020 games? So I went to sign up for Team USA. But now that I have a speaking business, they want me to live at the Olympic Training Center in Colorado Springs. I'm like, I can't do that. I live in a van. I've got gigs on my schedule. So my dad's from Trinidad and Tobago. I flew to my dad's home country. I learned about his culture, learned about his country. I filed for citizenship, became a dual citizen, fought in the Olympic trials, won by knockout, and proud to say, finally qualified for the 2020 games. And then the pandemic happened and they didn't send a team. So 4 different Olympics.
I'm just laughing because it's like, from an outsider, it's like you're not meant to go to the Olympics. Like, you're like, I'm here, and then the little flag comes down and goes, you're not fighting, you're not doing it. No.
Yeah. And the thing is like, I never got to go to the Olympics. And I went, I qualified for 4 Olympic trials. I won 3 of them. Uh, but I retired with almost 400 wins in boxing. I have more wins than any other boxer in U.S. history. I've won 12 national championships, countless state championships. I stopped counting. And I realized that it was my losses that made me who I am.
Yeah.
Because I'm not, by the way, I didn't make any teams in school. I wasn't that athletic dude. I just outworked everyone and I didn't become great. I didn't win those 400 matches because I was great. I won those 400 matches because I have 39 losses. That's more losses than anyone you could name. And it was each of those losses. So one of the losses, 2010, one of the worst ones, a guy, Roberto Camarelli, came from Italy to fight me in Reno, Nevada. Why didn't we get to fight in Vegas is what my question was, but whatever. Uh, I learned quickly they fight differently in Europe because we're in the ring. I'm here, he's here. And like I feel like I got hit twice and I didn't see his hands move. I'm like, oh no. And then he starts beating me in circles. So in the US, we throw short, powerful hooks to hurt our opponent. In Europe, they loop it over where it doesn't hit you. It doesn't hurt you, but it just hits you at the top of your head. And it's like a bull in a matador. And he's literally just punching me in circles. It was embarrassing. I couldn't figure it out. I got to the locker room and I looked at the video and I was like, damn, that's what he did to me. Then I realized no one else has ever fought this dude. I now know something that no one else in the United States know. And I used that to go on a 43 fight win streak.
Wow.
1 loss. I got 38 more I can tell you about.
That's awesome.
There's another one. I was in the airport and a guy recognized, he's like, hey, Cam, here's the thing. I'm bad with names, places, dates, and faces. But if you recognize me, I am going to pretend I remember you. So he's like, Cam. I was like, you, my guy. We hugged it out and we're chatting it up. And he's like, you don't remember me, do you? I was like, I'm sorry. Can you remind me? He's like, Cam, we fought twice, which to me means I won because I don't remember any of my wins. A win is a reason to get drunk. A win's a reason to celebrate. A win's a reason to turn up. I don't think twice about my wins. I obsess over my losses. They wake me up at night. When I lose, I can tell you all 39 of my losses, the city I lost in, who I lost to, what I did to lose, and what I can do to make sure I don't lose again. Those wins did nothing for me. And I realize it's those losses that we try to avoid is how we end up avoiding being great.
That's true. That's powerful right there. Like
That's a
even
bar.
just your motivational speaking, that's the powerful piece, is that the wins don't matter. The losses do. Because that's
Yeah.
what we do in life. We don't look at, oh, I wrote a book or I did this or I did that. We step back and go, but I didn't do this. I didn't wear the right outfit. I fell on stage. I screwed up and said the wrong word. And we obsess over the one thing we did wrong instead of the 100 things we did right or the 400 wins. You're obsessed over the 38 losses, which if you line it out, you're like, yeah, but you had 400 wins. Like from an outsider, it's like, I don't think I could kick anybody's ass in a ring. But the 400 wins are amazing, but you don't hear that. You hear, but I had 38 losses. So that brain is prepared always for the negative.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I wrote a book, but I didn't sell much.
Yeah. Yep.
There's always something, but it's like, isn't that need to want to push to be greater a good thing?
It is a good thing. And it comes from motivation. Not everybody has that though. Some people tap out and they say, I can't do it. I had 38 losses, fuck it, I'm no good. And someone on the outside is like, yeah, but you had 400 wins. They see it in reverse. And sometimes your
Yeah.
brain doesn't see it that way.
Yeah. Oh, but I don't see it as a bad thing for 38 losses. I'm like, if I had to do my career over again, I wouldn't avoid those 38 losses. No, 30,
Well,
it was 39 losses. Yeah.
they made you
I
who you
went,
are.
yeah, they made me, well, they taught me what I know.
Yeah.
Like, if I would just, if I just beat up 400 people I could beat up easily, that doesn't really say much. Um, so I've learned to take those losses in everything I do and understand there is a looking foolish is the cost of entry. And whether that's looking foolish, whether you're going on stage to speak for the first time, or you're leading a meeting and you haven't done that before, or you're getting in the boxing ring for the first time, it's like, yeah, you might look stupid.
Yeah.
Get over it. But I would much rather look stupid trying because no one looks more stupid than the person who's afraid to try.
That is true. So let me ask you this. We are out of time. So where can our listeners find you? Where can they book you? Where can they find you specifically?
Craigslist misconnections. No, I'm joking. CamFawesome.com or at CamFawesome everywhere because I'm not famous enough for anyone to take my name.
We're going to put all that in the show notes so that they can find you and hopefully book you to come and speak. I think that would be great.
Sweet. And thank you so much for having me on.
Sure. You have been listening to Unpause Your Life with Dr. Cali Estes and my guest, Cam F. Awesome. Until next time, guys, unpause your life.
Thank you for listening to Unpause Your Life with Dr. Cali Estes and Master Coach Jenny Fontana. Head over to www.thelifecoachmethod.com to learn more about coaching yourself and how to become a master coach.